Good evening or night from Lombok, everyone. It's Aniva Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Tonight, I am actually speaking to you at about 11:15, which for me is kind of a late night to be making a video. But I have been contemplating for days now about this idea, and partly because of some of the things that I'm seeing here and reflecting on the similarities between Canada and Indonesia. I know that these similarities are actually worldwide. And so today's video, of course, I said full cup or empty cup. So which are you carrying? And it wasn't about these cups. Just so you know, I made that title to hopefully draw some attention and okay, imply something. And yet it's not these cups that I'm talking about. I'm going to talk about full and empty cups. And perhaps you have heard this term called you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And this is something about when you don't have resources in your system, or you don't have energy, you don't have a drive, you don't have motivation, and then to try to help someone or share something with someone or anything, any sort of assistance in any way, even yourself, we don't have some resources to work with. So you can't pour from an empty cup is something that people have heard a lot about. And then there is something else that is actually the opposite of this, but along the same lines of thinking. So it's you can't pour into a full cup. You can't pour into a full cup. And so this is equally important. I wanted to talk about how historically, oftentimes people were working with very little. They were trying to pour from empty cups. So we've seen this for generations before this time, and some are actually still going through this right now, that are using every ounce of energy. In the past, many would be able to focus on one thing at a time. Right now, many people are multitasking. And yet we can look at in the past, if we look at farmers, for example, it was really not easy work and it was very long days. And by the time they would have a moment to themselves, if any family member needed some assistance or a chat or conversation, there wasn't energy to give that much attention to a child at that point. And I'm not making excuses for it, but that was kind of the lifestyle at the time. In that, there was even factory working, and we know that these things are still happening today too. But more of the population in the world moved into industrialized and moved into having a little bit more assets. So now there was more things. So where a person might have been walking more in the past, many years ago, just even to work and back because they couldn't afford a car or a bike or a scooter, anything. And so much more exercise. But that was also utilizing the resources of the body. And so the communication was not so good in terms of just don't have the energy to communicate. And even if it wasn't as significant as that, even when parents were just trying to manage the family, let me do this, let me do this, let me do this, and trying to do a little bit more work to try to make sure that there's enough for the kids that are growing up, the resources were a little bit low in the body, and there wasn't any refilling of those resources. It's just, here's work and then come home, and by the time parents came home, they didn't have the energy to be with the children at the depth and the level that children are requiring or deserve. And so we saw many generations that have gone through that, and some are still going through that. Right now, I do believe that multitasking is happening much more, and yet we're seeing one aspect that is more empty, and we're seeing the other aspect too of there's too much fullness. What's the fullness of? Because we're not building our spirituality as we are gaining assets, is what I see. We are just gaining assets, and then as we gain assets, we gain the pros and cons of assets. So here's something I've acquired. Now I need insurance for I acquire a car. I need insurance. I acquire a house. I need insurance. I acquire a license, a degree, I need insurance, I need continuing education. So there's the pros and cons of everything that we acquire. Except when we look at spiritually, when we acquire something, it's really just remembering what's with us. It's already with us. And yet, when we say you can't pour into a full cup, what has happened is as we acquire resources, oftentimes pride increases, ego increases, humility decreases, and humility and peace are things that are part of a spiritual development, yet we didn't work on that. So majority of people around us, even if they were very spiritual, very religious, there became a potential for pride in that too. Look at what I do. I'm centered because I do this, and you, child, are not. For example, for neighbor, you're not. There's a lot of judgment, and even today there's a lot of judgment this way. So we became kind of focused, self-centered in terms of I'm filling my cup because I'm running on empty. I need to get more to fill. What we were filling with is material accumulation. Yet the thing that really does fill us is remembering what is already there, what's already inherent in us. And so we see this in society right now, that when a generation is looking at the generation before and seeing that, wow, my parents worked or my friend worked for all of their life and then they got to this age and finally retired, and then came health concerns and other things that they weren't looking to either prevent or didn't expect. And sometimes we are seeing these things are happening earlier and earlier. So younger and younger people are noticing health concerns, and I certainly see a lot more anxiety and depression in younger people, but that doesn't mean that midlife and old age isn't also feeling this. Sometimes it's because of seeing a child going through it that also the parent does. Sometimes it's seeing a parent that's aging, that a child is going through it, and yet no one is talking about how do I refill in this time. Of course, you know that I focus on mental emotional health with most of the things that I do. And this mental emotional health needs to have a level of spirituality with it too, because when we have that peace and that welcome for the help from something beyond us, then something actually does help. But when my cup is too full, I can't even see the help that's right beside me. When I see the help that is right beside me, what do I do with it? So we will see that lots of companies will have people that come in to talk to them about this is what you need to do, consultants perhaps, this is what you need to do to help this work better. And they're paid for that work. And you know, the company hears about it, and only a few companies will actually follow the advice to a T. It's like, no, we've tried that before. We are going to do it this way. And so that's a full cup. It's, I have a resource in front of me that could help me, but I don't really want to listen. And what has happened is lots of organizations and lots of families have become very set with, well, this is just how things are done, and this is how we've always done it, because there's also a fear of moving into something unknown. When we look at something that's very known and we just follow a pattern, we're only going to create what we've always created. So up till now, what we did in the past is what we're doing now, and that's what we'll do in the future. And what it is in the now, it's only modified slightly, because shaking up something too much creates too much change and not such ease for people. In doing that, we're avoiding looking at the fact that people are breaking down. And of course, this is the thing that I'd like to draw our attention to. People are. And though we've all learned different ways to cover it up, or they call it the mask, we cover it up that no, I'm okay, everything's fine. And then the ones that don't have the mask are maybe rebellious, maybe angry, maybe irritable, maybe frustrated or restless. We label that as the problem and we work with that. Yet the concern also is for those that are hiding it and one day break down. And both are equally important. And the fact that we're just not looking at where is it coming from, the people ahead of them, this generation and probably for a couple of generations now, have seen parents breaking down, have seen friends breaking down, have seen youth dying very early. And unless we talk about this and acknowledge it and recognize that we need to do something different. Nothing changes. Today, I would strongly recommend that we start first with listening to ourselves. What's going on with this mind, this space, my life, my experience, and how it interconnects with the people around me. Am I taking on energies or beliefs or attitudes or biases that are from my parents but not my own, that are from my community but not my own, that are from my school but not my own? Am I as peaceful as I could be? Am I centered? Am I listening? So I'm finding that one of the things that's happening in our society is because the cup is full, thank you very much. We're not listening. We're not listening. We are saying that we are listening. And unless listening is followed with action, there is no actual listening. So people have learned what to say. I've heard you. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm taking notes. And yes, we're going to bring this up in the next meeting. Or I'll talk to your mother, your father about that. You're right. They shouldn't have spoken that way. And if that happens in North America, here, I'm not even sure if those sorts of conversations are happening. And certainly the self-assessment. So still this blame of the outside. You've done something wrong or someone else has done something wrong. So blaming something, blaming the school system, blaming the other parent, blaming the sibling is very common for many to do. And when we take self-responsibility, we see how much we're not listening. And so I thought today I'd finish with this quotation and say this to remind you about listening. Listening moves us close. It helps us become more whole, more healthy, more holy. Holy is also wholeness. It's wholeness. It's putting everything together. It's holy. Not listening creates fragmentation, and fragmentation is the root of all suffering. Now, fragmentation, I'm going to speak about a little bit more in the next video, but I will plant the seed that fragmentation is also separating things. So it's literally, I look at this like this, and I look at this like that. So for example, when I'm at home, I speak very casually and not listen very much to my partner because I see them all the time, and I've seen them yesterday, so I know them today, and if they start talking about something, I'm half listening. And I come into a school system, for example, or a workplace, other places that I work, anything. I go into my place of work and I bring that different energy. Now I say, okay, here, when I speak with the boss, I'm like this. When I'm with my coworker, I might speak more like how I speak at home with the family. And so this fragmentalization of this whole, this fragmentation of this experience, this life experience, even when we think of, in school, because of course I'm speaking with some schools these days and just students and teachers, and recognizing again the similarity between here and Canada. And I taught at colleges, I've taught at universities, I've spoken to the public in lots of different situations in Canada. Here I'm listening more and seeing that it's so similar, that there isn't a listening and there is a lot of restlessness, but that restlessness is stemming right from the top. So right from the top, when we think that a government says this is what you need to do in whatever, in the company, for your business, in a school, in the educational system, in an institution, anything, and then the CEOs or presidents or principals, whichever position that's at the top level, then is fulfilling. This is what's required, sometimes for funding and sometimes just to make sure that students feel like coming, or families feel like bringing their students to a particular school or a particular institution or a particular workplace, that people apply to it to get jobs. And yet the people that come in don't really have a very clear idea of what exactly is the expectation from this, because there's lots of things being added in, and as those things are added in, each new person that comes in just adds to what is there, and it's become so much for everyone. And what's happening is it's too much. So people are not robots, and yet we are trying to make them into robots. And we'll see that when we cannot do the work of computers, we will prefer that they do. So you see today where people do not know how to correct their grammar without using grammar check, or do not know how to write, handwriting. So even to write out a note to a friend, people are texting today, so of course don't know how to write. So all of these things are changing, and some things are very helpful for us, and some things deny us the creative use of our brains, and our brains can be utilized in that very creative space by linking it with a space of no thought, which is very linked with things like prayer and meditation, where when we're really not thinking, and I'll say largely meditation, we need space again. So we need space. So even when we're listening, when we're moving closer and actually listening and paying attention to something, then we create a space to hear and properly plan what to do. Now again, what I'm seeing is that there's a lot of people that have worked for a certain number of years in a particular company. When that happens, a certain pattern is set and then slight changes every year. And then what happens is someone is going to retire. Sometimes several people are going to retire. Sometimes they're pushed into it because of health concerns, sometimes because of family situations, sometimes because of relationship changes, sometimes because of moving, whatever. There's the people at the top that are retiring or changing or not wanting to change. They're there, and the new people are come in. They're just taught about what the people at the top did, what they're filling, as opposed to being able to work with the space that they're in, of this is a new creative way to look at this, because things are so structured about, well, these are the boxes we have to check off, so you have to do it this way. This doesn't allow for a space of creativity and a space of understanding what's happening now. If we're looking at any system that has been working from something 30 years ago, it will not work in the same way today. But if we've also seen that from 30 years ago, what we're seeing today is things are breaking down, we need to do something different. And one of my favorite quotations that I have used in the past too is this one that says, if not now, then when? If not you, then who? Everyone seems to pass the buck. So when people are retiring from the workplace, they just want to train the next person to do what they're doing. And when they're retiring, they're seeing so many concerns. They're not eager to take on something new that's changed, because they really just want to get out of whatever workplace and relax or heal or be able to spend time with family. And yet the actual work that they're doing is not getting the full benefit of themselves. Now imagine the next people that come through are learning from that. You don't have to do anything more than what's exactly in here. Check off the boxes. Don't do anything more than that, because you really don't have time to do more. And you don't have space to think outside of the box either. Now, all companies, from what I can see, are really encouraging thinking outside of the box. This video is to encourage you to empty your cup. Let yourself be able to know that you're creating space for creativity and an acknowledgement and action based on what we're seeing today. There's a lot of people breaking down today. We can prevent this by doing some changes that create the space that's needed. Today I also came across this great video that it's an old video. It's from some TV show, but it was showing, thank you friend who actually posted that, Ganesh, thank you for that. I'm sharing it today as just a link under this video so that you'll take a look at it. That not a lot has changed in 50 years. So that apparently that video was from 50 years ago. And it is about the same. It's about the same. And when we're looking at this, we can learn now. We don't have to see people breaking down, but the exact same things are happening. I hope you click on that link too after this video, because it's actually an amusing one. It's something lighter and easier and says the same message that I'm trying to share with you right now. I hope today you'll think about, what space can I create in my life? Can I call one less person? Can I decrease one aspect in my to-do list? Can I help the organization that I'm in do less rather than add more? And is adding more really adding value when people are breaking down? Just reflect on that for a few minutes, and I hope that you will find that creating space really does bring out the best in people. I hope the best of you comes out today, tomorrow, and for life. And I hope you remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day or night, everyone.